CIET NCERT presents audiobook Curiosity, Textbook of Science for Grade 7.
Page number 121, Chapter number 9, Life Processes in Animals. On the right-hand side of this page, a QR code is given, on scanning to which you can get access to the other resources related to this chapter. In the starting of this chapter, a quote is given in a box which says, "If your food is fully digested before you eat again, you won't need medicine for pain." From Thirukural 942. This quote is also provided in Tamil. In the Grade 6 Science textbook Curiosity, chapter Living Creatures, exploring their characteristics, we learnt about the processes essential for survival of living beings like nutrition, respiration, excretion, and reproduction. These are collectively called life processes. In this chapter, we will learn about life processes such as nutrition and respiration in detail. Children, a colorful picture is provided at the bottom of this page where a family, including a man, woman, and 2 children, are having picnic under a tree. Some food items are placed near them on the mat. Birds are flying around the tree, a white cow grazing the grass, feeding a calf. In the background, we can find green fields, bushes, sunflowers, bees, and in the foreground, there is a pond with lotus flowers and frogs. Page number 122. Observe your surroundings and notice what animals eat. Animals eat different types of food. Bees and sunbirds suck the nectar of flowers, while infants of humans and many other animals feed on their mother's milk. Snakes, like python, swallow the animals they prey upon. Some aquatic animals filter tiny food particles floating nearby and feed upon them. Animals, including humans, obtain energy from food, which enables them to carry out various life processes. Animals consume food that contains complex components such as carbohydrate, protein, and fat. These complex food components have to be broken down into simpler forms before the body can use them. But how does this process happen? Breaking down of complex food components into simpler forms occurs in a long tube called alimentary canal. This process starts in the mouth and ends at the anus, given in figure 9.1. As food moves through this canal, digestive juices secreted at different parts break it down into simpler forms. This simpler form of food is absorbed by different parts of our alimentary canal and transported to various parts of our body to carry out various functions. At the left-hand side of this page, a label diagram is given, figure 9.1, Human Digestive System. This picture is labeled with all the organs of human digestion system. From top to bottom, they are named as mouth, esophagus, which is also called food pipe, stomach, liver and pancreas located near the stomach, small intestine, which is a long and coiled tube, large intestine, wider and shorter than small intestine, rectum and anus at the end. Food passes through this long tube, consists of all these organs, and get digested by juices secreted at different stages. 9.1. Nutrition in animals. How do the complex food components get broken down into simpler forms and used by the body in various animals? Is this process the same in all animals or does it vary? Let us first try to understand this process in humans. 9.1.1. Digestion in human beings. Let us trace the journey of food inside our body as it passes through different parts of the alimentary canal. Beginning with mouth cavity. The journey of the food you eat begins when it enters your mouth. Your teeth break down food you eat into smaller pieces by the processes of crushing and chewing. This process of initial breakdown of food into fine pieces is called mechanical digestion. Think about your favorite food. Does your mouth feel watery? Page number 123. This happens because of more saliva that gets released when you recall your favorite food. What do you think is the role of saliva in your mouth? What do you feel when you eat other types of food such as chapati? Let us find out. Take a small piece of chapati or a bite-sized portion of boiled rice and chew it properly for 30 to 60 seconds. At first, the chapati or rice has its usual taste. But as you continue chewing, do you notice a change in taste? The food begins to taste sweet. Have you ever wondered why this happens? Chapati or rice contains starch, which is a type of carbohydrate. Our saliva contains a digestive juice that helps break down starch into sugar. This explains why starchy food like chapati tastes sweet when you chew it for a long time. Saliva helps to break down components of food into simpler ones. Children, at the middle of this page, a box named as Science and Society is given, which highlights the social connections and real-life applications of the concepts. This box reads, "A healthy mouth requires good oral hygiene. We should brush our teeth and clean our tongue twice a day and rinse our mouth with water after each meal to prevent tooth decay and bad smell in the mouth." Find out the ways our elders were maintaining oral hygiene. Activity 9.1. Let us investigate. Step 1. Take 2 test tubes and label them as A and B. Step 2. Take 1 teaspoonful of boiled rice in test tube A and take a teaspoonful of boiled rice after chewing it for 30 to 60 seconds in test tube B. Step 3. Add 3-4 ml of water in both the test tubes. Step 4. Note the initial color of the rice water mixture in table 9.1. Step 5. Add 3-4 drops of iodine solution into each test tube with the help of a dropper. Mix the content of each test tube separately and observe. Record your observations in table 9.1. Table 9.1. Action of saliva on starch. This table includes 4 columns and 2 rows. Column 1 is test tube, where test tube A, boiled rice, test tube B, chewed boiled rice are given. Column 2. Initial color before adding iodine. Column 3. Final color after adding iodine. Column 4. Possible reason for the change in color, if any. Blank spaces are provided for students to fill their observations under this column for 2 cases which are given in the rows. Row 1, boiled rice. Row 2, chewed boiled rice. Row 2, chewed boiled rice. Page number 124. Did you observe that the color of boiled rice turned blue-black in test tube A, while in test tube B, chewed boiled rice either did not change color or turned only a very light blue-black color? What causes the change of color in test tube A? In grade 6, we learned that iodine gives a blue-black color when it reacts with starch. In test tube A, the appearance of blue-black color indicates the presence of starch. In test tube B, which contains chewed boiled rice, if there is no change in color, it indicates that starch is no longer present. If there is only a slight change in color, it indicates that starch is present only in very small amount. It has been broken down into simple sugars by the action of saliva. If the color still appears in test tube B, what changes would you make in the activity to explore it further? Would the color change if chewing time is increased? Try to find out by repeating the activity. Now, We know that saliva secretion in the mouth helps break down starch into sugars. This process of breaking complex food components into simpler forms in the body is called digestion. Food is partially digested in the mouth. Let us learn how this partially digested food gets further digested through the alimentary canal. Food pipe, esophagus, a passage from the mouth to the stomach. When you chew your food, your saliva not only helps in digesting the starch but also moistens it, making it soft and easy to swallow. Your tongue helps in mixing chewed food with saliva and pushing this softened food into a long flexible tube called the food pipe or esophagus, which is given in figure 9.2. But how does the food move down? On the left hand side, figure 9.2 is provided. Figure 9.2, movement of food in the food pipe. Children, this figure illustrates 3 stages of movement of food in the food pipe. A wave-like motion in the food pipe pushing food to the stomach is given. These movements are called contractions and relaxations. The walls of the food pipe gently contract and relax in a wave-like motion to push the food down into the stomach. This movement takes place throughout the alimentary canal and pushes the food forward. Stomach. In the stomach, the walls contract and relax to churn the food. The churned food is then mixed with the secretion from the inner lining of the stomach. The secretion from stomach contains digestive juice, acid and mucus. Page number 125. The digestive juice of the stomach breaks down proteins present in the food into simpler components. The acid not only helps break down proteins but also kills many harmful bacteria. The mucus protects the stomach lining from the acid, preventing damage. In the stomach, the food is partially digested and transformed into a semi-liquid mass, preparing it for the next stage of digestion. At the right-hand side, figure 9.3 is given. Figure 9.3, stomach. This figure represents stomach lined with walls. Inside this, there are digestive juices, acid and mucus. Children, let's go through an interesting box named as Fascinating Facts. It highlights fun facts, interesting observations, and curiosity-driven questions. This box reads, how did scientists learn about digestion in the human body? The discovery of how the stomach works happened by chance. In 1822, a man named Alexis Saint Martin was accidentally shot in the stomach. He was treated by a Dr. William Beaumont. However, his wound never fully healed, leaving a small permanent hole. This opening allowed Dr. Beaumont to observe digestion in the stomach as it happened. He conducted experiments on how different foods were broken down and studied how emotions affect digestion. In this box, a picture is also provided. Alexis Saint Martin's shotgun wound. Small intestine. After its journey through the stomach, the partial digested food moves into the small intestine. Observe figure 9.4. It is a sketch of a stretched out alimentary canal. Guess how long it is? You will be surprised that although it is also called small intestine, it is almost 6 meters long, almost twice the height of your classroom. You will be surprised to know that the small intestine is the longest part of the alimentary canal. The small intestine receives digestive secretions from 3 sources: the inner lining of the small intestine itself and 2 more structures associated with the alimentary canal, the liver and the pancreas, which is given in figure 9.4. The liver secretes bile, which is mildly basic in nature. Recall the neutralization reaction in chapter Exploring Substances, Acidic, Basic and Neutral. Bile neutralizes acids present in the food, moving down from the stomach and breaks down fats into tiny droplets, making its digestion easier. At the right hand side of this section, figure 9.4 is given. Figure 9.4, alimentary canal if it is stretched out. Children, this figure illustrates alimentary canal stretched straight like a rope. It starts with mouth, food pipe, esophagus, stomach, liver, pancreas, small intestine, large intestine, anus. Page number 126. The pancreas secretes pancreatic juice, which is also basic in nature and helps neutralize acids present in the food. Additionally, pancreatic juice also breaks down carbohydrates, proteins and fats. The digestive juice secreted by the wall of the small intestine further breaks down fats, proteins and partially digested carbohydrates into simpler forms. The digested nutrients pass on from the small intestine into the blood present in the blood vessels found in the walls of the small intestine. This process is also called absorption of nutrients. How are these nutrients absorbed from the small intestine? The inner lining of the small intestine is thin and has thousands of finger-like projections, which is given in figure 9.5, that increase the surface area for efficient nutrient absorption. These finger-like projections allow the digested nutrients to pass into the blood, which carries them to different parts of the body. These nutrients provide energy, support growth and repair, and help the body function properly. At the left-hand side in this section, figure 9.5 is given. Figure 9.5, inner lining of the small intestine. Children, this figure zooms into the small intestine wall, illustrating thousands of tiny finger-like structures called villi. Children, at the middle of this page, Science and Society box is given. This box reads, celiac disease is a condition in which the body reacts to gluten, a protein found in wheat, barley and rye. This reaction damages the inner lining of the small intestine, where nutrients are absorbed. As a result, the intestine cannot function properly. The only way to manage celiac disease is to avoid foods that contain gluten. Millets like jawar, bajra and ragi are good alternatives because they are naturally gluten-free. In this box, a picture of millet is also provided. Large intestine. After most of the nutrients are digested and absorbed in the small intestine, what happens to the undigested food? It moves into the large intestine. The large intestine is about 1.5 meters in length. It is shorter than the small intestine. Then why is it called the large intestine? The reason is that it is wider than the small intestine. Page number 127. The large intestine absorbs water and some salts from the undigested food, thus making the waste semi-solid. This semi-solid waste is called stool. The stool is then stored in the lower part of the large intestine, called the rectum, until the body is ready to get rid of it. Eating fiber-rich foods like fruits, vegetables, and whole grains helps the large intestine function properly by making the stool easier to pass. Finally, it is expelled through the anus, a process known as egestion. This is how your body removes the waste it does not need, keeping you healthy. Isn't it fascinating how the digestive system works, absorbing nutrients from food and eliminating waste? At the middle of this page, there is one more interesting box, fascinating facts. This box reads, the large intestine contains various small living organisms such as bacteria that help in digestion. They help in keeping our digestive system healthy. They break down undigested food, especially fiber, and produce essential nutrients. Fiber-rich food and especially fermented foods like curd, buttermilk, shrikhand, khanji, pickles, gundruk, and poita bhat are good for a healthy digestive system and overall well-being. One more box is provided, Science and Society, which reads, "The importance of digestion in maintaining good health has been recognized for centuries. The Charak Samhita, an ancient Ayurvedic text, highlights the role of easily digestible foods and judicious use of spices like ginger, black pepper, and cumin to enhance digestion." Advances in science in the area of nutrition also emphasize eating meals at proper timings, practicing mindful eating, and avoiding overeating as key factors in maintaining digestive health. 9.1.2 Do all animals digest foods the same way as humans do? Children, there is a dialogue box with a picture of a boy who says, "I have seen cows keep chewing the food even when they are not actively grazing or eating anything. Why?" Page number 128. Grass-eating animals such as cows, which is given in figure 9.6, and buffaloes partially chew the grass and swallow it into their stomachs. In the stomach, partial digestion of the food takes place. The partially digested food is brought back to the mouth for gradual chewing. This process is called rumination, and these animals are called ruminants. A cow spends about 8 hours a day just chewing the food. The thoroughly chewed food again passes down the alimentary canal for further digestion. At the left-hand side of this page, figure 9.6, digestive system of a ruminant is given. In this figure, a cow is eating grass. Intake of food starts with mouth, then it comes to esophagus, then pancreas, small intestine, and rumen. In this figure, all these organs are labeled. Birds do not have teeth, but they have a chamber called a gizzard, which is given in figure 9.7. Food is broken down by the contraction and relaxation of the walls of the gizzard, often with the help of grit, small stones that the birds swallow. At the right-hand side of this page, figure 9.7, digestive system in birds is given, which starts with esophagus, stomach, gizzard, and then intestine. All these organs are labeled in this diagram. This shows that animals exhibit variations in the structure and function of the alimentary canal to adapt to different ways of digesting different kinds of food. We have learned that the nutrients from digested food are carried to different parts of the body. Some of the nutrients help build and repair the body, while others like sugar are broken down inside the body to release energy. The process by which nutrients are converted into usable energy is called respiration. Let us now explore how this process occurs in animals. 9.2 Respiration in animals. 9.2 Respiration in animals. We learned in grade 6 chapter Living Creatures, exploring their characteristics, that all living beings respire. Is the process of respiration the same in all animals? Let us first understand the process of respiration in humans. Page number 129. 9.2.1 Respiration in humans. You know that we breathe in, inhale, and breathe out, exhale, air continuously to obtain oxygen and release carbon dioxide. How is this oxygen used in the body? Are breathing and respiration different? Let us find out. How do we breathe? The process of inhaling and exhaling air is called breathing. It is difficult to live without food for a week, without water for a day or two, but without breathing, we usually cannot survive more than a few minutes. Why is that? All of us are alive because we breathe. Not just humans, plants and other animals also breathe. But how do we breathe? Just as food follows a specific pathway in the digestive system, our body also has a specific system for breathing and respiration. This system is called respiratory system. The respiratory system consists of various parts as given in figure 9.8. In this system, the exchange of gases follows a specific pathway. The pathway through which the air is inhaled and exhaled involves various parts of the respiratory system, assisting in the process of breathing and respiration. The respiratory system begins with a pair of nasal openings called nostrils through which we inhale and exhale air, given in figure 9.8. The inhaled air passes into a pair of small passages called nasal passages. Have you noticed tiny hair inside your nostrils? These hair, along with mucus, help trap dust and dirt from the air we breathe in. This is why we should breathe through the nose and not through the mouth. From the nasal passages, the air reaches our lungs through the windpipe. The windpipe forms two branches which enter the two lungs. In the lungs, these branches further divide into smaller and finer branches that end in small balloon-like sacs called alveoli, which is given in figure 9.8. Our lungs are protected by the rib cage. At the right-hand side of this section, figure 9.8, human respiratory system is provided. This diagram is labeled as nostrils, windpipe, alveoli, left lung, right lung, rib cage, diaphragm. Children, at the bottom of this page, Science and Society box is provided. This box says, while a lot of the dust is filtered out from the inhaled air, often small infectious particles can get through the lungs. For example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, the SARS-CoV-2 virus affected the respiratory system, leading to breathing difficulties and often causing serious lung problems. Page number 130. Let us understand the mechanism of breathing by making a simple model. Activity 9.2. Let us make a model. At the right-hand side in this section, two images are given. Figure 9.9, model to show mechanisms of breathing. This figure is given into two parts. Part A, inhalation. Inside a bottle, two small balloons hang from a Y-shaped tube. These balloons represent the lungs. A hand is pulling the rubber sheet down. This causes the balloons inside to expand or inflate. In part B of this image, the hand pushes the rubber sheet upward. This makes the balloon shrink or deflate. Step number 1. Take a white transparent plastic bottle with a lid. Remove its bottom. Step 2. Make a hole in the lid of the bottle. Step 3. Take a Y-shaped hollow tube as given in figure 9.9. Step 4. Fix two deflated balloons to the forked end of the tube. Secure them with rubber bands to make them airtight. Step 5. Insert the straight end of the tube tightly through the lid from the open base of the bottle and seal the lid with clay to make it airtight. Step 6. To the open base of the bottle, attach a thin rubber sheet tightly using a large rubber band. Pull the rubber sheet from the center of the base downwards and watch the balloons, as given in figure 9.9a. What do you observe? Now, release the rubber sheet upwards and observe the balloons as given in figure 9.9b. What changes do you see in the balloons? When you pull the rubber sheet downwards, the balloon inflates. Conversely, when you release the rubber sheet upwards, the balloons deflate. When you breathe in or inhale, your chest expands as the ribs move up and outwards. The diaphragm, a dome-shaped muscle below the lungs, moves downwards during inhalation, which is given in figure 9.10a. At the bottom of this page on the left-hand side, figure 9.10 mechanism of breathing is given in two parts. Part A represents a person's chest and ribs from the front during inhalation. This diagram is labeled as: first, air is drawn in. 2. Ribs move outwards. 3. Diaphragm moves downward. Part B, exhalation. This diagram is labeled as: air is forced out, ribs move back, diaphragm moves upward. This increases the space inside the chest and air enters the lungs. When you breathe out or exhale, the ribs move down and inwards, and the diaphragm moves upwards, as given in figure 9.10b, reducing space and pushing air out of the lungs. Page number 131. What do the balloons in the model mentioned in figure 9.9 represent? What does the rubber sheet represent? In this model, the balloons represent the lungs and the rubber sheet represents the diaphragm. At the top of this page, there is a box with a title, Science and Society. In this box, it is written, Breathing Practices for a Healthy Life. Breathing exercises have been practiced across different cultures in India and worldwide for centuries. Pranayama is well known for improving respiratory health, mind relaxation, and concentration. In Ladakh, people practice tumor breathing, a technique that improves lung function and helps keep the body warm even in cold weather. Similarly, deep breathing techniques are used to promote well-being. Some traditions combine deep breathing with chanting, using rhythmic breath control to enhance relaxation and mental clarity. Inside this box, a picture of a boy sitting in pranayama mudra is also given. What do we breathe out? Activity 9.3. Let us explore. On the right-hand side of this section, figure 9.11 is given. Figure 9.11 A. Air is passed into lime water with a pichkari or syringe. B. Air is exhaled into lime water. This image represents test tube A containing lime water, a straw and a picture. And the part B of this figure represents test tube B containing lime water and a child is blowing air through his mouth using a straw. To be demonstrated by the teacher. Step 1. Take an equal amount of freshly prepared lime water in two test tubes, A and B, as given in figure 9.11. Step 2. In test tube A, pass the air using a syringe or pichkari as given in figure 9.11a. This is the same air that you inhale. Step 3. In test tube B, repeatedly blow air through your mouth into the lime water using a straw as given in figure 9.11b. Step 4. Do you observe any changes in the color of the lime water? The lime water in test tube B turns milky or cloudy, but the lime water in test tube A does not. What does this indicate? Lime water turns milky when it reacts with carbon dioxide. Therefore, this indicates that the exhaled air contains more carbon dioxide than the air we inhale. Page number 132. How does the exchange of gases happen? Through the process of breathing, fresh air from outside enters the lungs and fills the alveoli. The alveoli have thin walls surrounded by fine tubes containing blood, as given in figure 9.12. Children, at the left-hand side of this page, figure 9.12, gas exchange through alveoli is given in two views. On left side, group of alveoli and blood vessels are given. On right side, enlarged view of one alveolus is given. Oxygen is moving into the blood and carbon dioxide is moving out. Blood carries carbon dioxide from the body to the alveoli, where it is released into the air. At the same time, oxygen from the alveoli passes into the blood and is transported to all parts of the body. Have you ever wondered how the food you eat gives you energy? The key is not only the food, but also the oxygen we breathe. When we eat food, our body breaks it down into simple substances like sugar or glucose. Oxygen helps break down glucose to release energy. This process is called respiration. The word equation of the process of respiration is as follows. Glucose plus oxygen gives us carbon dioxide plus water plus energy. During breathing, we inhale air from our surroundings and exhale air having more carbon dioxide than the inhaled air. Note that not all the oxygen is used up, as given in figure 9.13. Figure 9.13 is provided at the middle of this page. The percentage of oxygen and carbon dioxide in inhaled and exhaled air. This diagram represents that inhaled air contains nearly 21% of oxygen and nearly 0.04% carbon dioxide. Exhaled air contains nearly 16 to 17% of oxygen and nearly 4 to 5% of carbon dioxide. Some other animals can use a larger fraction of oxygen during respiration. This exchange of gases ensures that each segment of our body gets oxygen to produce energy and remove waste products. In simple words, breathing brings in oxygen and removes carbon dioxide, while respiration uses oxygen to break down food and release energy. This energy helps us walk, run, play, and even think. Breathing is a physical process, while respiration is a chemical process that occurs inside the body. Both the processes are essential for our survival. Page number 133. Our body has a unique system for the transport of nutrients, oxygen, and other substances. This system is called the circulatory system. It includes the heart, blood, and blood vessels. The heart pumps blood through blood vessels, ensuring the transport of nutrients, oxygen, and other substances to all parts of the body, while waste products are carried away. Children, at the middle of this page, a box named as Science and Society is given, which highlights the social connections and real-life applications of the concepts. This box tells us smoking is extremely harmful to health. It damages the lungs and increases the risk of serious diseases, including lung cancer and other respiratory illnesses. It leads to persistent coughing and frequent infections. In addition to harming the smoker, smoking releases toxic chemicals into the air, putting others at risk. When non-smokers inhale this polluted air, they experience passive smoking, which can be especially dangerous for children, pregnant women, and the elderly. Due to these risks, avoiding smoking helps protect both personal health and the well-being of those around us. 9.2.2 Do other animals breathe the same way as humans do? You have learned that different animals live in different habitats. You may have observed birds flying and fish swimming. How do they breathe? Animals such as birds, elephants, lions, cows, goats, lizards, and snakes breathe through their lungs. Although all these animals have lungs, the structure of their lungs are quite different. Most aquatic animals, like fish, have specialized structures known as gills, which is given in figure 9.14. At the right-hand side of this section, figure 9.14 is given. Figure 9.14 Breathing body parts in a fish. Behind the eye and cheek area, a flap covering curved lines is labeled as gills. These are richly supplied with blood vessels. The exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide between the blood and the gases dissolved in water takes place across the gills. Amphibians, like frogs, live both on land and in water. They use different body parts for breathing at various stages of their life. For example, tadpoles breathe through gills, while adult frogs use lungs for breathing on land and skin for gas exchange when they stay in water. This adaptation helps them survive both in water and on land, showing how animals have adapted over time to different environments. Earthworms use their moist skin for the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Page number 134. Thus, different animals have different breathing mechanisms to suit their unique habitats. Apart from the digestive system, the respiratory system, and the circulatory system, there are other systems which work in coordination with each other in the body and perform different functions to sustain life. You will study about them in higher grades. Children, the next section is titled as In a Nutshell. At the left-hand side in this section, an image is given. A cheerful girl is standing inside an open walnut shell. She is holding a paper with some notes written on it. This picture is symbolizing the idea of summarizing the chapter. Now, let us summarize this chapter into the points in the next section. Point 1. Life processes such as nutrition, circulation, respiration, excretion, and reproduction are essential for the survival of living beings. These processes are collectively called life processes. Point 2. The human digestive system consists of an alimentary canal which includes the mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and anus, and its associated parts, the liver and the pancreas. Point 3. The digested food is primarily absorbed through the walls of the small intestine. Point 4. The nutrients absorbed are distributed through the blood to different parts of the body where they are used for performing various functions. Point 5. The large intestine absorbs most of the remaining water and some salts from the undigested food. Point 6. Grass-eating animals such as cows and goats are called ruminants. They chew the food partially and swallow it. Later, the partially digested food is returned to the mouth and the animal chews it thoroughly. Point 7. Breathing involves the movement of air into the lungs, inhalation, and out of the lungs, exhalation. Point 8. The exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide occurs in the alveoli of the lungs. Point 9. Respiration uses oxygen from inhaled air to break down glucose into carbon dioxide and water. The process by which nutrients are converted into usable energy is called respiration. Point 10. The circulatory system transports nutrients and oxygen to all parts of the body. It includes the heart, which pumps blood through blood vessels, delivering oxygen and nutrients while also removing waste from the body. Point 11. Breathing is a physical process and respiration is a chemical process. Point 12. Different animals have different breathing mechanisms adapted to suit their habitats. Page number 135. Let us enhance our learning. In this section, on the right hand side towards the bottom of this page, an illustration of a boy is given who is encouraging us to participate in this section. The boy is sitting confidently on a block with a question mark on it. He is holding a word block named as inquiry. He is climbing through a rope and blocks. These blocks are shaped like big stones and has a question word written on them. Words like what if, why, when, where, what could, can it, how long, which, whose, what will happen, what else, what should, why not. Children, this picture reminds us to keep asking questions to learn better. Question number 1. Complete the journey of food through the alimentary canal by filling up the boxes with appropriate parts. Children, a sequence is given here with some missing parts of alimentary canal. It reads like this: food, arrow, mouth, arrow, blank space is given, arrow, stomach, arrow, blank space, arrow, another blank space is given, arrow, anus. Question number 2. Sahil placed some pieces of chapati in test tube A. Neha placed chewed chapati in test tube B. And Santushti took boiled and mashed potato in test tube C. All of them added a few drops of iodine solution to their test tubes A, B and C respectively. What would be their observations? Give reasons. Question number 3. What is the role of the diaphragm in breathing? First, to filter the air. Second, to produce sound. Third, to help in inhalation and exhalation. Fourth, to absorb oxygen. Question number 4. Match the following. First column is name of the part. First, nostrils. Second, nasal passages. Third, windpipe. Fourth, alveoli. Fifth, rib cage. Second column has functions. A. Fresh air from outside enters. B. Exchange of gases occurs. C. Protects lungs. D. Tiny hair and mucus help to trap dust and dirt from the air we breathe. E. Air reaches our lungs through this part. Question number 5. Anil claims to his friend Sanvi that respiration and breathing are the same process. What question or questions can Sanvi ask him to make him understand that he is not correct? Question number 6. Which of the following statements is correct and why? Anu, we inhale air. Shanu, we inhale oxygen. Tanu, we inhale air rich in oxygen. Question number 7. We often sneeze when we inhale a lot of dust-laden air. What can be possible explanations for this? Question number 8. Paridhi and Anusha of grade 7 started running for their morning workout. After they completed their running, they counted their breaths per minute. Anusha was breathing faster than Paridhi. Provide at least 2 possible explanations for why Anusha was breathing faster than Paridhi. Page number 136. On the left-hand side of this page, an illustration is given. A smiling girl is climbing up step by step through a rope ladder. Each step of ladder represents a word like curiosity, exploration, inquiry, discovery, and the last one is innovation. Children, this picture is indicating that all these steps lead to innovation. Question number 9. Yadu conducted an experiment to test his idea. He took 2 test tubes A and B and added a pinch of rice flour to the test tubes, half filled with water, and stirred them properly. To test tube B, he added a few drops of saliva. He left the 2 test tubes for 35 to 45 minutes. After that, he added iodine solution into both the test tubes. Experimental results are as given in figure 9.15. What do you think he wants to test? At the right hand side of this question, figure 9.15 experimental results is provided. Question number 10. Rakshita designed an experiment taking 2 clean test tubes A and B and filled them with lime water as given in the figure. In test tube A, the surrounding air that we inhale was passed on by sucking air from the pipe. And in test tube B, the exhaled air was blown through the pipe, as given in figure 9.16. What do you think she is trying to investigate? How can she confirm her findings? Children, at the right hand side of this question, figure 9.16, experimental setup which is discussed in the question is given. Coming to the next section of this chapter, exploratory projects. On the left hand side of this section, an interdisciplinary zigzag rope chart is provided. This illustration is depicting that all the areas like history, art, geography, society, technology, economy are integrated. Let's move to the next section and do some integrated projects in this section. First, what are the good practices for maintaining oral hygiene? Try to gather information on the same from books, newspapers, conversation with elders, prepare a report. Second, find out different ways to maintain a healthy digestive system. Suggest some good items that help to maintain good digestive health. Make a report and present it in class. Third, using colored clay, prepare a 3D model of the digestive system and label all the parts of the digestive system using black paper strips. Fourth, what is air quality and AQI? Find out the effect of air quality on the respiratory systems of people working in various fields, farmers, factory workers, or street vendors. Fifth, try to read about the box breathing technique as given in figure 9.17. What are its benefits? Children, on the right hand side of this question, figure 9.17, a diagram for box breathing is provided. A square box is given here. Each side of box represents one step in the breathing process. An arrow is also given to follow this process clockwise. Sixth, both birds and mammals have lungs for breathing, but birds can fly at high altitudes where oxygen levels are low. How might their respiratory system be adapted to help them survive in such conditions? This chapter ends here.
Curiosity. You were just listening to this audiobook. Textbook of Science for Grade 7. Narration Harsh Priya. Sound recordist Manju Kumari. Production assistant Amarjeet Sarkar. Directed and produced by Vimalesh Chaudhary. This audiobook is brought to you by CIET NCERT, New Delhi, India.